In recent days, everyone has been trying to figure out where Alexei Navalny is. The answer to this question is yes and no. Yes, this happens. Neither Alexei's lawyers, nor his relatives know for sure. No one was notified that Navalny was being transferred from Matrosskaya Tishina and taken away somewhere. On the morning of February 25th, he managed to write, and I quote, "I was told to pack my things, they're transferring me somewhere. Either to the next cell, or to a neighboring region." But, officially, Alexei Navalny whereabouts is still unknown. In parallel with this, see for yourself. From human rights journalist sources, they say that Navalny was brought here. Vladimir region. The city of Pokrov, Correctional Colony number 2. For the past 6 months, the whole world has followed what was happening to Alexei Navalny. The poisoning, the hospital in Omsk, the lies of local doctors, the evacuation in Novichok, the wriggling of Russian propagandists and officials, the Navalny video of his own poisoning, his conversation with an FSB officer, and Putin's lies. Then return to Russia, the arrest, the Putin's palace video, the courts, more courts, the summing up, and finally the verdict. Tens, if not hundreds of millions of people around the world, round the clock, are watching the life of one person. Because this man is Putin's main enemy. And now, according to Putin's plan, there should be silence. 2.5 years of a long-awaited silence. It seems to Putin that his main dream is finally coming true. Navalny is disappearing. No one knows where he is or what he is, no one follows what Navalny does or says. But we, of course, will not make Vladimir Vladimirovich so happy. Not this time. Therefore, today we invite you on a tour of the place where Alexei Navalny is likely to spend the next 2.5 years of his life. We will show you how this place looks and how it works, what a Russian prison is, and how Putin decided to take revenge on Navalny further. The essence of Correctional Colony number 2 in Pokrov, briefly, is as follows. Nothing can prepare you. We talk to those who sat here, who have been here, who have relatives here. And every time we heard the same thing. Absolutely nothing is allowed. Humiliation, psychological pressure, physical abuse, threats, and complete isolation. This is what in Russia is called legal punishment, the path to correction. But in reality it is torture. Correctional Colony number 2 is one of the most restricted prisons, the so-called red zone. It is not prisoners who rule here, as in the black zones, but the administration, and by the prisoners who are used by the administration as slaves. Let's start from the beginning. From a pre-trial detention center they deliver here. They unload them from the car, take their belongings, make them stand facing the wall and squat. And then they're immediately beaten. According to numerous stories, the first thing that happens to you when you enter the territory is you are beaten. This is a preventative measure, so that everyone knows their place. But Navalny was not beaten. And this is so amazing that the media even reported about it. A good start, isn't it? Then comes the inspection. The prisoner goes to the punishment cell. There, in front of the administration and other prisoners, you are stripped naked, you squat down again. You are given a uniform. Pants, a shirt, underwear, a set of work clothes. These are all your belongings for the next few years. Right there, they shave your head completely bald with hair shears, taking pictures as they go. Then a psychologist. This is supposedly a service. Many will say, wow, a psychologist. In fact, this is not the case. The psychologist is not interested in anything about you. The psychologist gives out colored cards and asks to arrange them in the order you like. And you repeat several times. Blue symbolizes calmness, red or orange, willpower. You make your choices, lay them out, and the psychologist, probably, draws some important conclusions. Yellow is the desire for communication. You can sympathize with those who choose it. The main rule of this colony in Pokrov is no communication, complete isolation. But more on that later. After the psychologist comes a conversation with the doctor. Here too, everything is simple. If you don't have a medical record, then you don't have any illnesses either. The newbie poisoned, in a coma for 3 weeks and a few months ago learned to walk and speak again. You show your medical card. If it is not written there, then these conditions don't exist. Next, a conversation with the administration. Here they either beat you again, or psychologically humiliate you. In general, they remind you that you are not a human being, and that you have no rights. Then off you go to quarantine. On the way from the punishment cell, everyone stops here. The prisoners are given a broom in their hands. What? What for? Let's explain. You have to take a broom, and the revenge starts. Then on camera, the administration is filming you, you are forced to say, "I do not support the prisoner's way of life." This is something like a special humiliating oath. The quarantine takes place here. 2 weeks of bullying and maximum pressure. Here you get to know the main feature of this colony. You can't talk here. Generally, you live in a room with several dozen people and you cannot talk to them. It is forbidden. Your quarantine day looks like a never-ending string of meaningless tasks. It never stops, you constantly do something, you follow orders. You get up, you are ordered to go to exercise, listen to the national anthem, then more exercises, then ordered to make the bed. Then the order is given to make the bed again. Or take off all your clothes, fold them according to the prison rules and put them on again. Then an order to line up and for a roll call. This happens dozens of times a day. You stand in line and announce your surname, forename, patronymic name, year of birth, prisoner number, the beginning of your term, the end of your term. Then you may receive an order to repeat the exercise, to squat again or wave your arms, or an order to stand, or an order to make your bed again. Dozens of times in a row, people perform meaningless rituals, all the while they are mocked. They break your psyche. Now we come to a particularly interesting part. These orders are not issued by the prison guards, not by the employees of the colony. These are issued by the so-called orderlies or activists as they are called here. These are the same convicts who cooperate with the administration and perform their work in return for privileges. They shout commands, they order you to make and straighten your bed for 3 hours in a row. Or they tell you to memorize the list of colony employees. They can search you, they can beat you, they can do whatever they want. These prisoners live on special conditions. For example, they can wash themselves whenever they want. Or they may not always keep their hands behind their back. For this, they do the work of jailers. They never leave the other prisoners. Around the clock, they keep a log, where they write down your every word, every answer, and then they carry this diary to the authorities for verification. After quarantine, everyone is transferred to a high-security barrack. This is an important stage, the only purpose of which is to show what happens if you misbehave. You still can't talk to each other here. But there are prison entertainments. For example, collective watching of television. They watch federal channels, news or lectures. The prisoners are seated in rows, each must keep his back straight, legs together. Sitting wrongly earns a reprimand. Closed your eyes, another reprimand. You must always watch the TV. From the point of view of the daily routine, nothing changes. Order by order. Often it's just a task to stand for hours and look down. If you raise your head, again a reprimand. Didn't say hello? A reprimand. An unbuttoned button is a reprimand. If you receive several such reprimands, then you lose your parole. From this high-security barrack, they transfer to the normal one, where you will remain permanently and will seem to be a simpler setup. But this is theoretical. Practically you can be kept here for months. An ordinary barrack is a huge room for 60 people. Bunk beds in 2 rows. Each person is entitled to 2 square meters. Bedside table and chair. From here you are taken to work, once a week to church and to wash yourself. There is a shower in the barracks. But, we remind you, you cannot use it. It is for activists cooperating with the administration. Personal time is almost non-existent. If you're lucky, maybe they'll allow you an hour or an hour and a half, when you can sit on the edge of a stool and read. But political prisoners, as a rule, are not so lucky. And so the whole day consists of either work or hours of compulsory watching TV. There is no email system, only paper letters are allowed. You have half an hour a week to answer. You will be given a pen and a piece of paper, you can pee. But the orderly will sit next to you and watch what you write. If they don't like it, they will just take the paper and throw it away. And yes, for political prisoners, the ban on communication with other people applies here as well. Do you remember Alexei Navalny, who was recently awarded the status of flight risk? It's funny, of course, but you know what that means? This means that every 2 hours a person with a video camera comes up to him and makes him give a report, last name, first name, patronymic, year of birth, well, you remember. And at night, every hour, a prison guard of the colony comes, shines a flashlight on him and disturbs his sleep or wakes him up. Just to introduce himself again. All this is real, in the literal sense of the word, torture. Purposeful destruction of a person and mockery of a person. This has nothing to do with law and justice. This is more like the Middle Ages, created by the hands of Putin and his officials, in the middle of Europe in 2021. We are sure that for most of you, our story today is an unpleasant discovery. We ourselves, frankly, do not always realize the degree of madness and lawlessness in these places. Alexei Navalny is there not because he is a criminal, but because Putin does not like him. He is there because he did not die after the poisoning attempt. He is there because he dared to return to Russia. Because for many years he told us the truth about the corrupt Putin regime, about the party of saboteurs, crooks and thieves, about the president who grabbed office in order to steal and get rich for an infinitely long time. Freedom for Alexei Navalny.